Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the legendary series Voltron Lions from Playmates Toys. That's right, Playmates' brand new line of Voltron toys are starting to hit store shelves right now. And today I'm going to take a look at the set that I was the most excited about, being the Legendary series. These 5 lions are sold separately, but when purchased, can all form together to create Voltron. So let's dive right in and check these out. As you can see, all 5 lions come packaged individually, so these are all sold separately. The blue, red, yellow, and green lion all come on little blister cards that fully showcase our action figures within, and then the black lion comes in a nice deluxe window box. The black lion retails for $29.99, while the other 4 lions retail between $17.99 and $19.99, depending on what store you buy them from. They tend to be a little cheaper at places like Target, and a little more expensive at Toys R Us. And then all 5 lions, of course, will be able to be put together to form a massive Voltron based on that new animated series that is on Netflix. So let's go ahead and remove these guys from the boxes and take a closer look at them. And we're going to start with the lions themselves. Look at these guys. First of all, I gotta say, right out of the box, I'm really impressed with how cool these look. These are really fun, really nice looking lion toys, and all of them feel really, really nice. The plastic used is a really nice quality. They all have a great feel to them, nice weight to them. They're nicely painted. You can see lots of colors used there, especially in the black lion. So let's go ahead and look at these one by one. We'll start with that black lion there. Get all these other guys out of the way, and we'll look at them all individually. So the black lion, of course, the main lion there, is our one that comes in the deluxe box. He's very, very cool. Let me bring in the tape measure here, so you guys can see that he measures about 9 inches across and about 7 inches tall from the bottom of his feet to the top of those red wings that are on his back. And this guy is really, really hefty. I mean, this is a big, heavy, chunky lion, and I love that. These guys just feel so fun in your hands, and like, seriously, this is a retail line, mass release retail line, so obviously this is aimed at kids. And I think the cool thing about this all throughout, which you're going to hear me repeat, is that these not only feel like fun toys for kids, but they totally appeal to collectors like myself as well. But I cannot get over the fun factor of these. This black lion is just a really, really fun toy. The paint apps look pretty nice on there. You can see there's a great amount of color seen in the face there. Yellow eyes, the red highlights, the blue along the side. You can see the chest there. It's got the nice blue on there. Now this is all going to light up for some features because we do have some really great sounds and lights which we can trigger with this guy. So the black lion does make these sound effects alone, which we can trigger right here. There's an on-off switch on top, so let's power him up. And then there's a little button right here on the side. So when we press that button, we get some sounds.
Voltron is the only thing that can stop Sarkon. Let's assemble Voltron and get rid of these Golra.
So really cool stuff. Now, it is not the same voices from the cartoon, but that's okay. I do think it's still a pretty good voice actor on there, and I like the sound effects, the blasting noises. He says, let's form Voltron, so that's pretty cool. Now, these sound effects are great with just the black lion, but man, they get really cool when we start forming Voltron. So keep that in mind, because we're going to come back to the lights and sounds. Otherwise, I'm going to turn them off just for now so I don't trigger them, so we can talk about the figure a little bit more. You can see the head can move up and down slightly. It has got a little bit of a joint at the neck there. We can also move the head forwards. That obviously is going to come into play again when we form Voltron later on. The wings are also articulated, so you can lay those down. You can raise them up. Again, great for when we form Voltron later on. All of the legs are nicely articulated, and I really like that we've got the nice tight ratchet joints in here. You can actually hear it. You hear that? That's really good because it does help him with standing. So you can really kind of bend these all the way around. You got joints right there, little elbow joints. You got joints up here again at the shoulders. You can rotate the whole shoulder. The back legs are the same way. You got nice tight ratchet joints. So these are pretty good. You can get them at some decent stances. Now, they're not overly articulated, but they still articulate pretty well for what you would expect. A lot of times the transforming Voltron toys do hinder the movement just a bit. Like, they're not quite as agile as the Lions in the cartoon series, but I'm usually pretty forgiving of a toy like this when the sole purpose is to form Voltron. So you're not really going to be able to get like any good sitting poses. Obviously that looks a little goofy there, but he looks cool standing on the shelf, and seriously, he feels really fun, just like flying the sky around, playing with them. He's really cool. Here's another fun little added bonus that you're going to see with all the Lions. He's got a little compartment that opens up right here, and inside of there we actually have the cool little ship that's got a little pilot sitting in there. It's kind of hard to see on there, and you can see it's not painted fully. It's mostly just a solid black plastic, little blue on the windshield, but that is our pilot Shiro, and the little shuttle that he uses to get to the Lion when he's first getting to it in the animated series. So that's pretty cool. And they all have these little compartments where you can just slide the little ship right there, close it up on the inside. I just thought that was a fun little added bonus, and we do have those little pilots with every single Lion. Okay, let's go ahead and bring in Hunk's Lion, the yellow Lion. So these are the smaller ones. They come on the blister cards. They're not quite as heavy and hefty as the Black Lion, because they do have to be a little bit more lightweight since these are going to be the limbs of Voltron. But still, I think the overall sculpt and everything on this is really good. For something that has to turn into a foot of Voltron, they still did a pretty great job of getting a great lion likeness with these. You can see these are much more rounded than our old Voltron Lions. That's how he appears in the new series. They're not quite as boxy, and I think Playmates did a pretty good job with the overall sculpts on these guys. Still some pretty nice paint. You can see there's some silvers, blacks with the yellow base of the plastic there, some nice red highlights again up here on the face. The paint is a little sloppy in some spots. I can kind of see down here on the claws there's some yellow kind of bleeding over. The other thing is the claws are all a softer plastic. I would assume this is a safety thing, so they will come out of the package a little warped, but it's not too bad. Minor complaints there. You can see a little bit of paint wear on the feet, but otherwise I think he's a pretty good looking cat. You can open the mouth. The mouth kind of like springs shut, you know, so it doesn't stay posed open, but otherwise the articulation is pretty decent with, you know, you can move the legs forwards and backwards at the shoulders, you can bend at the knees there, again, you got those nice really tight joints, you can bend at the ankles for the feet, you can do the same thing with the back legs there. These work a little bit better for some different poses, you know, like if you kind of wanted to get a little cat sitting pose. Again, not great, they're not hyper articulated or anything like that, but I'm fine with the articulation as is on these guys. You got a little compartment on the bottom side there where we've got the same little kind of ship deal with Hunk as the pilot inside of his little ship. It's kind of a softer plastic. You can see it's a little gummy, but that will just house right here on the inside. Again, I just think that's a fun little feature that was included. Now, another thing with all of these other Lions, the red, blue, yellow, and green, is they all come with cool little projectile pieces. And what I think was fun about this is these are separate pieces that clip onto the Lion. So it doesn't really make the figure too overly boxy or weird looking or gimmicky because it's got an action feature, and of course you've got to be able to turn these into a Voltron, so I thought that was a cool choice to have these as separate pieces. In the show we see them use cannons and stuff, so it's kind of cool that they included these. So Hunks here can just clip right up here on his back, and you got to kind of find a good spot to get it locked into place there. Like so. And then, so he's got these little discs that will fire out of his. So he's got 4 little blue discs, and this is actually really nice because you just pull this little lever and look at that. Boom! Boom! Look at how good those fire out of there. Really awesome. And again, you just pop that back off, and then if you don't want to use it, you don't have to use it. But it's kind of cool to see how they included those little cannon pieces. Next up, we've got Lance's Lion, the Blue Lion. So again, really cool. Love that deep blue color. Paint job is very similar to Hunk's. You'll notice how each of the lion has kind of their own shape to them, which I really like. They did a good job with that. So he's not quite as boxy as the yellow lion, even though he is also a foot, but it still works out good. He's got kind of the red stripe up here at the top, which has always been a signature of the Blue Lion. Again, pretty great paint up here on the face. You can see yellows, whites, blacks, reds. So the paint detail is pretty good on all of these. There's not like a ton of missing paint apps. The most noticeable is when we actually form Voltron, which I will point out later on. Articulation functions exactly the same on this guy as the yellow lion. Again, we've got a little opening compartment on the bottom here where we've got our little shuttle with our pilot in it, so that's pretty cool. Again, we can just kind of pop that right in there just like that. And the Blue Lion has his own unique cannon. Check that thing out right there. Again, this will clip right over the top. You can kind of see the little wedges there. So you just clip that right on there. Just clips into place just like so. And then we've got this firing kind of blue water missile there. Boom, just like that. So great little firing projectile missile. Love the look of the cannon. Oop, I just popped it right off. Let me get that on there. A little bit tight. There you go. See, that's how it locks on. Looks really nice. And then you can just pop it right off just like that and display them, of course, without that cannon. So that's going to bring us to our arm lions. Let's go ahead and take a look at Keith's lion, the red lion. So very cool arm here. This is really, really neat. Again, he's a bit smaller than the others. But, you know, he's got a little bit more of that slimmer build since he's for the arm, but I really love the overall design on these guys. Great silvers as well as the grays. It all worked in there. You can see kind of the blues in here as well. Face paint looks good. This one's got a really clean paint job. I think the yellow lion's got the sloppiest paint I've seen so far, and even that wasn't so bad. It was just kind of down on the feet mostly and a little bit on the face. Red looks great. I think he's a very, very cool looking lion. So the articulation is pretty much the same here as we saw with the blue and the yellow. They're just a little bit smaller, but you can see same kind of ratchet joints, articulation points at all the same spots. The legs in the back go forwards and backwards as well as bend here at the knees and again here at the ankles. So really nice articulation. Tails can move all the way around. Very, very cool. And then of course you got a nice open and closing mouth on this as well. It kind of has that spring feature. This is going to come into play because these are also Voltron's hands, so he needs to be able to grip onto some things. So that's pretty cool. And then he's got his own firing blaster weapon as well. I love this giant cannon. I think that's very cool looking. And that will just clip into the little socket on his back like that. Press the little button up here on the top. Boom! That will blast off his cool little projectile missile there, which is really, really sweet. Let's get that placed back in here. And I'm going to pop that off. Oh, and of course, just like the others, you can see he's got this little compartment that opens up on the bottom. And there is his little shuttle with his little pilot. I love that these are all individual sculpts. I think that is really cool that they did that. So pretty sweet. That's our red lion. And last but certainly not least, we've got Pidge, the driver of the green lion. So looks a lot like the red lion, actually. If you bring it in here, you can see the body designs are very, very similar. The green lion, of course, has the difference in this big shield piece that clips up here on the top. Really nice black and gold and gray. You got some nice silvers worked into this. Great paint deco all the way around on this one. Again, I really, really love it. Nice solid feel. You got the little compartment on the bottom here with Pidge in his or her. Pidge in her shuttle there. So really, really cool. And you can just seal that right up in there just like that. You'll notice too, the red lion's got this also. The articulation point in the middle. Of course, that's going to be the elbow on Voltron. So that's why we've got that piece there. It also swivels, so that's pretty cool, and we'll get a better look at that later on. So we can pop off the shield. You're going to want to actually do that to place on Pidge's giant cannon. That will plug onto this large little socket right there on the top, and now we've got this sweet cannon that Pidge can use with the little button right here that fires off the missile, so very cool. And again, easy to pop off. Place the shield back on if you want to. Now, the other thing that the red lion and the green lion come with is the sword. Our nice sword for Voltron. They each come with a piece of it. One of them comes with the blade, one of them comes with the hilt. It forms together, creates this nice, awesome sword for when we put together Voltron. So, the lions are pretty nice. I really like them as standalone figures. I think they display well as lions. I think kids will have a lot of fun playing with them as lions, especially that black one. But I know what you guys are waiting for. You want to see us form Voltron, so let's do that. Let's form Voltron. Okay, the first things first, I want to prep these guys to form onto Voltron. So let me show you how to do that with each of these lions. So with our red and our green lions, you're just going to fold the legs up just like so. You can see they kind of fold right up there in the backs, and then they just kind of close right up inside there. Then this top piece opens up on the torso, and we are now going to fold these legs inside. You can see they kind of fold inwards, just like that. Once you get it locked in there, boom, you close that up. The tail, you can see, just kind of slides right there on the inside, and then we're going to pull out this little connector piece right here. So let's do that same thing with Pidge's lion real quick. I'm going to pop the shield off just to make that easier for right now. See, fold the legs up just like this, right on the inside there, tail down. We're going to open up the little canopy piece right here. Boom. Then the legs will just fold right up to the inside there. You can see they kind of fold in, and they just scoot in right there on that. You clip it closed right there. We pop out this connector piece, and those are our arms. Our arms are ready to go, so let's do the leg pieces. Okay, so on our leg pieces, this is what we're gonna do. The back legs will fold up just like this, very similar to what we just did with the arms. The head will fold up. You can see we got this little piece right here that you can fold back, so fold the head up, and then you're gonna form the front legs down like this. Now this will actually act as like the back ankles of Voltron's feet, kind of like the stabilizer, like the heel there. So you're gonna want to keep it just like that, and then the tail should go right down inside, just like that. So there is our left leg. Let's do the same thing with the blue lion here. Boom. And boom. You can see this is very easy, and because of those ratchet joints, everything really holds together really well. You're going to raise that red piece up, you're going to lift up his head, and again with the legs just like that, and now we have our legs. So we are pretty much ready to go here. Now we want to bring in our black lion so we can form Voltron. So let's do this. All right, I am going to go ahead and turn on the power here so that you guys can see all of these cool sound effects as we form Voltron. First thing you're going to do, go ahead and fold the tail forward. Then the arms, you have these little opening compartments right up here. The legs on the front legs there will just fold right up on the inside. So do that, and then you close these compartments up just like this. And then you're going to rotate those to the back. So that way, you've got the nice smooth black lines right here in the front. The legs will then point straight down, just like this. There you go. Okay, so this is where things get fun. Let's go ahead and put Voltron together. So we've got all of our parts ready to go. Let's do this. Let's form Voltron. Now, I mentioned earlier that there's some really cool lights and sound effects when we're actually forming together the Voltron. And that is one of my absolute favorite things about this toy, because I didn't even know that was going to happen until the first time I put this thing together. I kind of wish I was filming that, so you guys could have seen how happy I was as I was putting this together for the first time. So, we're going to start with the legs, and we just have the little kind of trap doors on the legs that we slide the black lion's legs right into to lock it into place. So here we go. We'll start with the yellow lion.
Whatever you say, Shiro.
So I locked it in place, and you heard Hunk talk to Shiro. How cool is that? Now this is what's really neat. If you press the button on the black lion while we've only got the one lion attached, or while just a few of them are attached, listen to this.
Pinch, fire up the green lion. We're coming in hot. Lance, we're still missing the blue lion. We need the red lion.
He recognized which lions are not attached yet. How amazing is that? That is so much fun. So here we go. We'll bring in the blue lion now and do the same thing.
Blue lion, ready for action.
So there's Lance saying he's ready to go.
Great work, team.
And Shiro complimenting them. So if I push the button again...
Pinch, fire up the green lion. We're coming in hot. We need the red lion.
There you go. Still calling for the red and the green. So here we go. We'll bring Pidge in. Now that connector that we folded out earlier, we'll just plug right into the peg hole right here on the side. Just like this.
Lance, we're still missing the blue lion.
I pushed the button.
Green lion. I'm right there with you. We need to increase firepower.
Okay, so that's going to bring us to the final lion. Here's the red lion to attach. How freaking awesome is that?
Complete. Targeting road beast.
That is amazing. And then, of course, we've got the wings, which you can fold up just like this on the back. And now, my friends, we have our completed Voltron. I'm going to go ahead. We can also attach that shield here back on our green lion. But seriously, how amazing are all of those sound effects? The fact that it recognizes every time you attach a new lion... I just pushed the button on the side again. Every time it recognizes, every time you attach a lion is just so cool. And when you get them all put together, he recognizes that Voltron has been fully formed. We have voices coming from each of the pilots on there, which is so neat. And we can continue to push the button while he's Voltron to now trigger some new Voltron sounds.
Pitch, form shield.
My shield can't take much more of this.
We need to increase firepower.
We got you, buddy.
Let's light this thing up. Fire lasers.
So cool.
Now we go on the offensive.
So
Time to armor up.
So you got all the pilots sounding off. You've got Shiro giving commands to the rest of the pilots. It is so very cool. And then, of course, we've got that sword that we formed together earlier, which we'll put over here in the Red Lion's hand. And like I told you earlier, the mouth just kind of snaps open, and you can see it gets a really good grip on that sword. So this, my friends, is our completed Voltron, and I love this. He is a great-looking piece.
Give me full reverse thrusters.
I love the lights.
Engaging lower thrusters.
I love the sounds. It's so easy to trigger that button. So I'm going to go ahead and flip them off for the rest of the time I'm talking here. But the lights and sounds are great. The colors are bright and vibrant on this guy. He's really great. He's only got a few pieces of missing paint. There's red paint missing up on the Voltron face that should be there. But that's pretty minor. Otherwise, everything else is there, and he looks wonderful. So when we're talking about standing this guy up on a shelf, one thing that I really want to point out is with the two lions on the legs. You definitely want to make sure that the lion paws are facing downwards to kind of act as the heels for Voltron. That's what's going to keep this guy balanced so that he stands. So as long as those are pointed down, you can see that Voltron actually stands very well. You don't have any issues. If those kind of move at all, he's definitely going to lose his balance at that point, and that's when you're going to have him falling over like this. So you always want to make sure that those legs are pointed downwards, that the paws are flat on the ground to act as the heels for Voltron. And you can see the ratchet joints in there actually allow you to articulate him pretty good, and he does keep a balance. I haven't really had a whole lot of problems with posing this guy as long as I make sure that those legs are in the proper position. Now, this guy does feature some pretty decent articulation. One thing is the head doesn't move. You can't turn it side to side, left or right. I think that's a bit of a bummer. I wish we could rotate the head just a little bit so we can get some more cool action poses. But the arms are great. Look at this. You can fold the arms all the way outwards. You can move them up and down with those nice, great ratchet joints. Also, I showed you earlier how we can swivel kind of at the bicep, and you can even bend the elbows there. So good range of motion in the arms. And then the legs can move forwards and backwards at the thighs, and then, of course, bend at the knees there. So it's a pretty decent amount of articulation there. Like I said, it'd look cooler if we could actually rotate his head so we can get some pretty neat poses. But for just a big old robot toy that you're going to form together and kind of fly around or have kids bash around, I think that is pretty cool. Overall, I really like the way this guy turned out. Let's bring in the tape measure here, where you can see that this guy actually stands almost at 17 inches tall there. Look at that. He is almost a full 18 inches tall, actually, from the bottom of the feet kind of to where the wings are standing there. So he is a pretty massive Voltron when fully assembled. And I feel like the whole thing is sturdy. He's nice. He's got cool effects. Just overall, really fun. I love this guy. Alright guys, how about a little bit of comparison time? I have me a lot of Voltrons, so here's this new Voltron standing alongside the vintage one from Panache Place, the one a lot of us grew up playing with, so you can see how they stand next to each other. And how about standing next to the Trendmasters Voltron that came out in the 90s? Or the Toynami Voltron from a few years ago? Or standing next to just a whole bunch of different little Voltrons. I got a bunch of these guys. And then, there's the big one. This is the one I'm sure a lot of you guys want to see. This is the giant Mattel 23-inch Voltron that came out just a few years ago, standing alongside this new one from Playmates Toys, just so you can see how these guys measure up. Now, if I want to actually compare these guys as far as the overall builds go, I gotta say, I like this one better. I like this one better because he feels sturdier, he's more solid. When he's in Voltron form, there's no action features like the spring-loaded legs in this one that keep popping out and getting in the way. Also, this one seems to fit together a little bit better than this one. So this one's big, and it's got that cool retro look. But if we're talking about overall fun and quality of the toys, I'm going to give the nod to this one right here. And really, that's kind of one of those things that you could really talk about a lot with Voltron, because there are so many Voltron toys out there, and you want to kind of compare these. But this is the thing. This is you know, inspired by the new Voltron series. This is meant to look like the new cartoon series. It's also kind of aimed more towards kids that might be fans of that series. This is a mass market retail item, and when you put those things out there, I gotta say, this thing is really, really nice for a mass market retail item. With the Black Lion running $30, the other lions running about $17 or $18 a piece, you get the full Voltron for just over $100, and that ain't bad by today's standards. I think there's a lot of play value here. He's solid. He really is fun just to kind of play with. Even the lions are really, really nice, and I just love the light and sound features that they built into this. I think that really sends this thing over the top and makes it so much fun. I know I'm gushing about this, but I'm serious when I say that I was so happy while playing with this thing. When I was preparing for this review, I couldn't stop forming Voltron and taking him apart and forming it again because it was so much fun. And that, my friends, is what toys are all about, having fun. It's only January, but this thing is an early contender for coolest toy of the year for me because I just think it is so much fun. So Playmates, great work on this. You really nailed it. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing what else comes out of this brand new Voltron line. So these lines are hitting store shelves right now. They're already hitting places like Toys R Us, Walmart, and Target. So happy hunting, my friends. And hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, my friends.